It's really bizarre, this series, because and I'm about to go through how Tampa Bay beat Boston Bruins, but I feel like I'm reviewing the 2018 series between these two teams. I'm doing this a bit later, so usually after the game, I put a video up. At work was very hectic, so I had to work late today, and I do a few things with the girlfriend as well. So I mean, obviously doing the video now, just a few hours later than I usually would with these. So I started looking for some articles, and I found an article of how the Bruins and I found it. So I was looking around for articles online, and I found one that was titled "How the Lightning Beat the Boston Bruins." And I started reading through it, and I got halfway through when I realized it was the 2018 article, and nothing had been written yet about about this current one. So yeah, it was unreal. Like it was. There was a point in there where it was like, 5-on-5, Boston. Struggled, especially in the tail end of the last 3 games, because, I mean, the score was the same thing. It was 4-1. And they said in the last 3 games, 4 out of the last 5 Boston Bruin goals were power play goals. Guess what happened? Exact same thing. Like, they just kind of went missing during the series. Anyway, I just thought that was a funny point to start off with. But obviously, this is, the title suggests how did the Lightning beat the Bruins. So let's dive in, shall we? For those that are new to the channel, I usually wear a jersey of the team that I'm talking about, but I don't have a Tampa Bay jersey yet. We're past the halfway mark of teams that I have, and I just ordered 2 more jerseys from Ben H Sports, so there'll be a random unboxing of those, because I get random jerseys every time. And that should be here Monday, Tuesday next week sometime, depending on post. But I literally just sent him the money for that, so oh boy, I can't wait for that. Just a constant refresh of when the jerseys are coming. It's all I do for 4 days, like 5 to 6 days. I just keep hitting F5 and just hoping that it's going to be like, oh, your jerseys are now in your front yard. So, how did Tampa Bay win this series? Well, I mean, a huge component to it was 5v5. Boy, do they just have their number. I kind of thought that this series was always going to be geared to them just because of the back-to-back game in the middle between 2 and 3. Ross going home, which, by the way, complete right decision that he made, even if it wasn't health issues with his family and you know, a family 100% comes first, even if he just wasn't into it, you'd rather Halak at 100% in it than a goalie that isn't. And Ross showed that he wasn't in it before that, and obviously there was a lot of stuff going on at home, so I completely understand why he left, so no real qualms from him. But Halak as a goalie can be really good in periods of time. And I mean can be great, but he always needs rest. That has been a constant thing of him, is that he needs rest. He can win you games, he can steal you games, but he needs rest. He can't carry a whole playoff series. So I looked at this back-to-back, Game 2 and Game 3, and I went, Lightning are going to win Game 3. That's a guarantee. To the point where I put money on it. Like 3 days ahead of time. And Game 2, when that went to overtime and Tampa Bay scored, that was the moment I knew this series was over. And it would be over pretty quickly. I thought as much, at least. But yeah, and then obviously... But 5v5, they were great. They were just able to usually put on more shots than Boston most games. I said in the preview that I really wanted to see a player like Palat or Gord come up and score. Palat scored 5 goals this series. Unbelievable. Unbelievable this series he was. And they needed a player like that to come up big and do well. But you're never going to win a series if you can't score more than 3 goals every game in that series, and if you end on 1 goal in almost 3 games. The last 3 games, they almost ended in 1 goal if it wasn't for that Krejci bounce. But they couldn't generate goals, this Boston team, unless they were alone. And they were able to do that in the power play very well, but the defensive coverage of the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is obviously head up by Hedman, who's probably the best defender in the league right now. When I say probably, I mean, I actually think he is the best defender that's in the league right now. I'd say Seth Jones is also in that conversation. But yeah, unbelievable. But their defensive coverage was so good. You saw how they scored goals, Boston, against the Hurricanes, and I actually thought they were going to be able to do the same against Tampa Bay in this series, just looking at the way they played against Columbus, the Lightning that is. And a lot of their goals were scored by players being able to pass it, very quick passes to players that were alone in front of the net. Tampa Bay didn't give them that. And the second that was taken away, they weren't able to score. And that was the main reason they won this series. Like, their scoring wasn't exactly lights out. Like, they won, 2 games by scoring 3 goals, which, can be an overtime game or something on those lines. So they weren't, like, significantly great at scoring. Obviously, the 7-1 game, Halak was tired. The defense was really sleepy that game, too, by Boston. They didn't look good that game 3. That was the mulligan that you can't really analyze. It was just a one-sided affair. But Tampa Bay was just a better team. Out there. And it started with the defensive coverage. They just allowed Boston nothing. And they would force Boston to make some plays. They just couldn't get a chippy goal. And they couldn't do it against Carolina either. Even though they won, they just couldn't get a chippy goal, getting something out in front. Similar to like how the Flyers and Islanders can sometimes eke out a goal. A lot of the West teams as well. They just couldn't eke out anything with something in front of the net and just being able to do something. Coyle wasn't, very evident this series, and I thought he was going to be a key player. The defense just looked a little bit out of sorts. Wanting to play a very aggressive style and trying to force the Lightning into that sort of realm. They weren't able to do it. Yeah, and just at the end of the day, the better team won. Like that. That's the only way you can really put it, is that the better team won. This series is so much like 2018. It's scary. Like, it is Boston won one game, and then Tampa ran away with the series. But, yeah, I think that second overtime, that's game 2 overtime, similar to Columbus with that game 1 overtime, because that could have been, we went 5 overtime periods and we didn't win. The complete mental shift, and making that 1-1. I just kind of thought they had the belief to keep going. But yeah, credit. This Tampa Bay team seems like they've gotten rid of some of the ghosts of not being able to keep the foot on the jugular, or letting teams back into a series. We'll see what happens next round, because they're probably up against the Islanders, who are not a hard, not an easy team to beat at all. They suffocate the life out of you. And I think that's a good matchup for them, Tampa over Boston. I think Boston may have been a bit different going against them, just because they can play that chippy in your face game as well. So yeah, but you just can't go wrong. You just can't go past just how well this team played as a unit. But it all started with a defensive call. The other stat is Boston just couldn't get defensive scoring. They weren't able to join in the rush, and I think that's where I talk about it was really the defense that made the difference in this series. They had 3 5-on-5 points, Boston did, out of defenders. 2 of them were on the Krejci goal. That was the last goal scored by them. So up until then, they had 1 5-on-5 defensive point this series. To Tampa Bay, who had 12 5-on-5 defensive points. A lot helped by that 7-1 game, but still 12-3, and that last goal would have been 12-1 defensive points. So really getting that defensive scoring and being able to play such a good game in such a defensive role, being able to make sure that no one gets through and there's no good chances for Boston, and then being able to generate 12 points in a series. And I know there's a few that like one defender touched it and another defender touched it, but at least they're a part of 10 individual 5-on-5 goals this series, with it, that a defender touched it, because some of them, of course, 2 did. Makes all the world of difference. They were really able to shoot well, Shattenkirk and Hedman. And Hedman, of course, had the overtime winner. They were really able to shoot well. Hedman's goal was a toe drag at the end there, but they were getting some real good shots from the point that were making its way through Halak. I don't think this is Halak's fault. I don't think he had the ability to be able to steal a game this series, but you need more scoring than that from Boston, and they just weren't getting it. They weren't able to get the time and space. The pucks to be able to go forward and have constant pressure or time in the zone. So yeah, they just wouldn't be able to do anything. Plot had a great series. Kucherov was great. Let's hope that injury's not big. Point, again, fantastic. But yeah, like I said, it was a Tampa Bay Lightning forward that needed to step up. You got that in Palat, and their defense really needed to contain Boston, and they did that. Vasilevsky was good when he needed to be, but he didn't steal the show. So yeah, off to the next round. Probably going to be the Islanders, but I guess we'll find out. Anyway, guys, if you did like this video and you've already subscribed, hit the like button. It really does help us out. Otherwise, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. You've made it all this way. Tons of content coming out. We cover, every series pretty much when it ends. For the next round, I'll be reviewing every single game. I'll have time to be able to do that. Yeah. And also we're at 171 now, so the growth has been crazy. It just gives me the motivation to keep doing these. Comment down below, what did you think Tampa Bay did well? Did I miss anything? Is there something that Boston didn't do well? I'll be doing season recaps of all the teams in September once the games kind of whittle down a little bit that have been eliminated, so Boston will be one of them. I'll probably be able to do Boston a bit earlier. Just recap their whole season from where to go, some of the big deals, some of the big patches where they played well, those sort of things. And yeah, we'll go from there. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you, and bye.